And welcome back to Love Your Food. This week we have a beautiful and fairly simple holiday kind of potato recipe for you. This is for potatoes Duchesse. Now this is a little bit of a fancy way to do mashed potatoes, where you're going to add a few ingredients. You're going to form them into these nice little sort of piles and then bake them separately. And let's get going with our ingredients. So we've got our potatoes. We're using some Yukon Gold, some cream, some butter, a tiny bit of nutmeg, and 2 egg yolks separately. And we'll show you how to use those egg yolks a little bit later. And we're going to use 2 of them, and they're going to be in different places. So the first things first, we're going to peel our potatoes. This is a very smooth dish, so it's not like you want potato skins in there for texture or flavor or anything. This one's supposed to be quite smooth and sort of refined and delicate. So the first thing we're going to do is boil our potatoes. So they've been peeled. We're going to just cut them into roughly even pieces so they cook at the same time. And we're going to get that into a pot. Plenty of salt because they're potatoes and they take a lot of salt. So definitely get some salt in there and a couple of bay leaves, and then we're going to add our water. Now we want to start these from cold. So we're going to start these in some nice cold water. And we're going to bring that up to boiling from cold. You can see the bay leaf floating around in there. We've actually got 2, and just adds a little bit of flavor. And we're going to boil that covered for a little while. Meanwhile, we are going to separate our egg because we want our egg yolk ready for us. So again, we're using 2 yolks separately, and you can use the whites for whatever you want to use the whites for. So there you go. We've got the yolk separated from the white here. And you do also, for this, you would really be better off if you remove the chalasia as well. So do get rid of that if you can. Once your potatoes are cooked all the way through, you're going to drain them. Make sure you pull those bay leaves out once they're drained. And then what we're going to do is mash these. So first thing, we're going to season them again because a lot of that salt went away in the water. So a good amount of salt in there, some fresh cracked black pepper. And then we're going to move on to a tiny bit of vermouth. And any kind of acidic thing, you can add a little bit of Tabasco there if you want, a little bit of rice wine vinegar, anything you want just to give it a little bit of zing. In goes the butter. Now, we're not going to be adding any milk or cream at this time. This is just, we want it to be pretty thick. We want it to be a pretty tight mixture. We don't want it to be runny because we want to be able to form this into sort of cakes almost. So we're going to get that mashed with a fork. You can use a masher as well if you prefer. And by the time they are pretty well mashed, they should be cool enough for you to add your egg yolk. You don't want to add it when your potatoes are really hot because it's going to cook the egg yolk as soon as it touches those hot potatoes and make scrambled eggs. So you don't want that. We're going to add just a whisper of nutmeg, and just literally we just did it twice across the microplane grater, just a tiny bit. It's one of those ingredients that you're not really going to taste in the final result, but you'll notice it if it's not there. So we're going to get that all well combined and mixed together. Now, the fun part of this recipe is the little craggy bits on the outside of your sort of piles of mashed potato here. Traditionally, this would be piped using a piping bag and a star tip so that it has all that nice texture. We're just using a spoon because you don't need to do it that fancy way. You can just put it into piles like this. And if you find the outside is a little too smooth, just rough it up like with a fork like that. And make sure you've got some little craggy bits and some stuff sticking up and some little, craters and stuff on the outside. That's really what you're looking for. Now here's our second egg yolk. We're going to mix this with a little bit of that cream. And here's where the second one comes in. This is to paint the outside. So we have our ridiculously tiny little fork. And we're just going to whip those together. That's our cream and egg yolk. And this is going to be our egg wash for the outside. And be generous, but be gentle. You don't want to knock down all those little bits of craggy bits that are going to get crispy in the oven on the outside of the potatoes. You want to make sure that those stay kind of standing up. So that's going to go into the oven for a little while. We did chill these. So once they have been formed into your little cakes, you do want to chill them before you add the egg wash and bake them. so they won't nice and firm when you put them on this baking tray. And then they look like that. They've got that beautiful little dark parts where the craggy bits again get nice and toasty, and the inside is fluffy and tender, and it's not going to be dried out because you've got that nice egg wash on the outside, and also you've made sure that there's a lot of moisture in there with the butter and the egg yolks and all that sort of thing, so it's going to hold that moisture inside and be beautiful and tender and creamy all the way through. So if you like this recipe, please do like and subscribe, and if you have any recipes you'd like to see Chef Caleb try on the channel, please let us know in the comments below. And remember to love your food.